Hey guys, Jay Moses, McLeod Auto Sales. Wanted to touch base with you this week on down payment. We get a lot of questions about down payment, and there's a few myths out there that we want to kind of put to bed. So yeah, let's jump right in. So down payment. One of the most frequent questions we get is, I like this truck, or I like this car, or I like this SUV. How much is the down payment on this particular vehicle? You have to understand that the down payment is not going to be decided by the vehicle that you choose, but rather how your approval is shaped. It's based on your situation, not necessarily the vehicle. So for example, if you get an approval that is for $50,000, then any vehicle that you select under that $50,000 mark, you won't have to put any cash down, right? As long as the vehicles are being sold within market value, which all of our vehicles are. But if you, let's say you were looking at a vehicle that was $15,000 and you had an approval that was only for $12,000, then you would have to put down that $3,000 plus tax, title, and license as your down payment. You would have to pay that out of pocket up front. So really the question needs to be asked, not necessarily what is the down payment on that vehicle, but what does my approval look like? That's what you need to be asking. What does my approval look like? What kind of value, loan to value, can I get for my approval? Can I get a blanket check for $30,000 and then go pick vehicles that are under $30,000? And here's the trick. Understand that there's going to be tax, title, and license in there. There's going to be accessories at some dealerships. And so what you want to do is you want to say, okay, if I have an approval for $30,000, I want to look at vehicles that are around 25, so I give myself some room to A, negotiate a better deal and make sure that I'm covering it, and B, make sure that if I want to put some accessories on there or I want to put my tax, title, and license in there, I have enough from my lender in order to do that. The other thing you need to remember too is that when you go to get your approval, sometimes they'll give you an approval and they'll say, okay, you have an approval for 20 grand. And then you go find a car that you like and it's 20 grand plus tax, title, and license. You can always re-ask your lender for the other $2,000. There's a lot of times that customers will come in and they have an approval for 20 grand and they end up leaving with an approval for $21,618.22 because they went back in and sent over the information to the bank and the bank's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So don't just take that blanket approval at the beginning as your total amount. Understand that down payment can affect your loan based on the rate. So let's break it down this way. Let's say that you have 20 lenders, okay? And based on your particular credit situation, they may say must have 10% down. There might be, let's say that 5 of those lenders automatically don't do dime down or a zero down approval. They all have to have at least 10% down. There are a few lenders out there that if you don't have 10% down, they're not even going to consider getting anybody a loan. So let's say that there's a certain number of banks that require 10% down to begin with. And then based on your situation, there's another 5 lenders that say, okay, well, we'll do it if they give us 10 to 15% down. So now you have half of your lenders right there that will even choose whether or not they'll give you a loan based on you having down payment. Now there might be 10 other lenders who don't need down payment, and then you can pick and choose your approvals there. Those people might just charge a higher rate. So you got to understand how that's going to affect it too. But there are some lenders that will do, I have 2 or 3 that I can think of off the top of my head, that will do no money down even with the lower credit tier customer if everything else on their situation looks stable and looks like they have the ability to pay. We call it stability and ability. So when the lenders are looking at the entire profile, you see this in the credit amnesty program where we're selling the story to the lenders to make sure that it's not just about down payment, it's not just about credit score. We kind of put all of those things together, which is why you've got 50% of our customers that take advantage of the Dime Down program. The reason that we do that is because we're looking for lenders specifically that will not need a down payment. Okay, we're gonna try to sell them every other aspect of your application so they don't need that down payment. Now there are certain times, maybe you've never borrowed a car before, maybe you've never had any credit before, or maybe you have a previous indiscretion, a repossession from a couple of years ago and you've got to reestablish yourself. That kind of risk can warrant a lender saying, if you give me $2,000 down, I'll give you the rest. So if you're up borrowing $20,000 and the bank says, I'll give you 100% of that, but I won't pay for the tax, title, and license, and you have to put the $1,682.22 down, then they'll give you the other 20. It's really dependent on your particular situation, and that's what you have to remember. So understand that down payment can also affect your rate. That's the other thing. It's not just going to be deciding factor for whether or not a bank will even give you an approval, but there are lenders who, if you put the X amount of money down, maybe they'll give you 18% because that's the state max if you put zero down. But if you put $1,000 down, they'll give you 16%. Or if you put $5,000 down, they'll give you 12%. And so what you have to do then at that point, you have to start figuring out, okay, well, how much money can I put down in order to change my payment? Because that makes the payment so much easier to pay each month. So if my rate is 18% and my payment is $400 with zero down, I don't pay anything out of pocket to start the loan, but I'm paying $400. 72 months times $400. Or I give them $2,500 out of my pocket, and it drops my rate so much that my payment is $300. Same term, I just saved myself $7,200 by paying $2,500 out of pocket. So that difference, the $3,700, is going to be a savings in finance charge, which is a pretty big savings. Not to mention the fact that it's going to be easier to budget $100 less throughout the term of the loan. So those kind of questions you have to ask yourself. What does down payment bring to the table? It tells the lender, I'm committed to pay this payment with you. I'm going to pay this payment. And it can help lower your rate, which can help lower your payment, which can help make it easier to pay for the loan. So just because you can't put no money down doesn't necessarily mean you should, right? I think Jeff Goldblum said something like that. All right. And then finally, the fun one is going to be the myth that down payments go to the salesperson. I don't know how this came about, but I hear it a lot. People say, well, I know that no matter what I put down, you just keep that money. No, that doesn't, it's not 1980 anymore. And I don't know how this actually, I don't know how anybody actually was able to pull that off without just completely ripping people off, including the dealership that they were working for. Because your sell price is going to be fixed. It's in order for that to be the case. Let's say that I charged you $2,000 down. I would have to either just put it in my pocket, not put it on the contract anywhere, or I would have to raise the sell price of the car $2,000 to offset that, and then put the $2,000 in there and then deduct. I don't even know how they would do it. Honestly, don't. So that is a straight myth. It does not go to the salesperson. It just goes towards your loan. And then, guys, you got to look at your truth in lending box on your contracts, okay? And we'll put a copy of that, a picture of that, so you can see what that looks like. Your truth in lending box shows your down payment in there. Anytime you're buying anything, whether it's an electronic appliance, furniture, house, car, make sure that you check that truth in lending box and look and make sure your down payment is being applied. Sometimes they forget it and you end up not putting it in your loan. That's okay. That just means you got to prove zero down. Hey, take advantage of it, or put it in there and see if you can lower the rate. So any other questions you have for down payment, you can always reach us up at the dealership. Call me, 254-200-9803. Shoot me an email or comment below. Yeah, anything that we appreciate your business. We appreciate your questions, and feel free to reach out if you have any more questions.